Good, good morning. Wow, early, early, early. Got my window drapes open today because it's cold. Well, it's not cold, but for Hong Kong, it's cold. Anyhow, I got a lot to talk about, so I'm going to get started. There's a number of movies open, or that opened yesterday in Hong Kong. The first is Jumanji: The Next Level, the sequel to the surprisingly popular um, reboot that came out a couple years ago. I did not see this film because I did not see the first one. I don't like Kevin Hart as an actor. He might be a very nice person, so don't get off on me because he is African American and I say I don't like him. Has nothing to do with that. I just don't like him as an actor. I don't. It's not really somebody that I want to see. So the movie just did not interest me in the least, and I didn't see it. So I'm not even going to talk about it. Second film that opened yesterday was I'm going to talk. Yeah, I'm going to switch this around. I'm going to talk about Black Christmas, which I saw last night. This is a sort of, what do you is it a it's a remake, but it's a remake with a twist because it's like a whole new take on what was, I guess. The film actually was a Canadian film. The original was a Canadian film, came out in 1974. It is not a good film, but um it's been recognized now as sort of, it's a cult classic of sorts, and the original, not this one. And it influenced a whole genre. It really is one of the first films, if not the first, of the slasher genre. So, and it influenced people like John Carpenter, who made the Hollywood Halloween films. So, as an important film in the horror slasher genre, Black Christmas, the original, is an important film. It was remade, I think it was in 2006, with Michelle Trachtenberg and a few others, and was a horrible film. I didn't see it. I just heard that it was horrible. And now it's being redone again. I haven't written anything down, so this is off the top of my head. Directed by a woman, and I'm sorry I don't remember her name because I didn't write it down, and she co-wrote it with another woman. I was really surprised that women wrote this film because it is sort of a feminine, a female take on it, but it's almost like the film is written by people who've never met a woman before. So it's like what they think. It's like people. It's like it's what they think women of today are. I just thought, very strange film. So the film stars Imogen Poots. She was in a great little film from last year, 2 years ago, called I Kill Monsters. I reviewed it. If you want to check it out, check out my review. It's on my website, howard4film.com, howardforfilm.com. So it's called I Kill Monsters. Nice little film. She was also in what was it with Owen Wilson? Uh, it was one of these farce films. It was a really awful film. But anyhow, and Carrie Elwes, from The Princess Bride, and so he's in this film as well. He doesn't have a big part. Well, nobody really has a big part in this film, but yeah. So that's what it's about. So basically, the story is in this college in America, even though the movie was filmed in New Zealand, apparently, in this college in America, it's Christmas time, everybody's getting ready to go away, and the sorority girls are all getting ready to go away, and somebody dressed in a cloak is now bumping them off. At the same time that this is happening, over at the frat house, the Delta Kappa Omega? I forget what the third letter was. They were called Deeks, so I remember Delta Kappa. Over at the Deeks frat house, they seem to be doing some sort of occult ritual, and the past president is somebody who attacked Imogen Poots' character a couple of years ago. It's funny, they don't use the R word. They say she was attacked. I don't know why they don't use the R word. Call it for what it is. But anyhow, and so she's all upset that he's back, but he seems to be back to do some nefarious stuff. And so the women all are getting bumped off one at a time, and the numbers get dwindled down, and nobody listens to them, and okay. But contrary to what you might think, it's a sort of a post Me Too slash Times Up message in this film. So I think I just gave away the ending. You know, apparently I haven't seen the trailer, but apparently the trailer gives away so much that people were furious about it. That they figured out the whole story right from the trailer. I haven't seen it. I should actually check out it and see if I can find it. I think they might have pulled it down, but once something's up on the internet, it's impossible to take down. So yeah, if you haven't seen the trailer and you do want to see this film, don't see the trailer. I guess that's my best advice to you. But whether you want to see the film, that's a whole other issue. Now, here's the story. The film, it's not a good film. I think it could have been a good film because of its message, its timely message. I think it's trying to be a social commentary. It's trying to be modern, contemporary with its messaging. It just doesn't quite deliver. That's why I was surprised that women wrote this film. To me, I would have expected women would be more in tune with the messaging, but not these two women. So in that respect, I think that the film failed. I think it's sort of like a film of horror for the criminally dense. It just if let's say you want to compare it to Jordan Peele's films like Get Out and his first film, and these are intelligent social commentaries. This one's trying to be a social commentary, doesn't quite make it. Also, it's very, very, its pacing is really whack because at the beginning it's very, very slow. As the women get bumped off one at a time, it's very, very slow. My friend Jackie, sitting next to me, colleague, he kept saying, "This is so boring. This is so boring." I was laughing because it's very, very slow. And then all of a sudden it gets to the third act and it's like, boom, it's over. It's over in about 5 minutes. So yeah, in terms of the structure of the story was really poor. The pacing was very poor. And also very interesting, there's no blood. That was weird as well. All the violence is off screen. So yeah, you don't see, and I think they wanted to get a PG-13 rating in the States. I think here it's a category, it's either a 2A or 2B. It's definitely not a category 3 because they would have told us yesterday. So I don't know what it is, a 2A or a 2B. But basically that's our PG-13. And in Australia it's an M. I don't know what M stands for, but I think it's also the same. So, it's sort of, it's a slasher film, sort of shows some blood, so it doesn't even do that. So, you know what? I don't want to say it's a complete disaster. It wasn't. It's meh. You know what? It could have been a whole lot better. But here's the bottom line: the film costs $5 million to make, which is not a lot of money these days. It'll make it back. It'll make $10 million easily. It'll be a financial success because I think people will go. You'll get teenagers going to see it on a date. Great date night movie. Uh, but not a good film at all. Really not a good film. Anyhow, okay, so that's Black Christmas. Other film that opened yesterday in Hong Kong called The Whistleblower. It's a mainland Chinese Australian co-production. And whistleblowers are in the news a lot lately. We have the still unnamed person who blew the whistle on Donald Trump, and he's did he get impeached? I guess I haven't heard the news yet. I don't think he's been impeached yet, but I think that's probably happening. Maybe it's happening right now. I don't even know. But it's almost certain he will be impeached this week. And so there's a lot of talk about whistleblowers. There's also been quite a few movies about whistleblowers recently. We had Official Secrets about Catherine Gunn, the whistleblower in the UK. Dark Waters is coming. It played at the Macau Film Festival last week, and I had a ticket, but I was so tired. I blew it off. I didn't go see it. So it is coming. It hasn't been scheduled yet to come to Hong Kong, but it will come at some point. And then also next week we have Is it next week or the week after? Bombshell. When is Bombshell coming? Let me just look. Bombshell is coming. Why is it? Oh, Bombshell is coming January the 30th. But I'm seeing it next week. So that's the story about the women at Fox News who brought down Roger Ailes. So funny that I'm seeing it so early when it's not even coming till January 30th. But anyhow, Yeah. So there's quite a few films on whistleblowers. Well, now China's jumping on the bandwagon with this unimaginatively titled film called The Whistleblower. And if you're wondering if China has a proud tradition of supporting whistleblowers, it doesn't. There have been whistleblowers in the past, in recent years, they've either ended up in prison or worse. So you know, you don't want to be a whistleblower in China. However, as the film explains in an end title, just last September, a couple months ago, China strengthened its whistleblower laws by offering significant cash incentives for people who come forward and report corporate hanky-panky. So maybe they're changing. Still, if I was a mainland Chinese citizen, I would not want to be a whistleblower because they will go after you. Somebody will go after you, big time. Until they strengthen the privacy laws, and really, you know, cash just isn't going to do it. But anyhow, so in the movie we have Mark Ma. It's actually his name is Ma Ke, but he goes by the name of Mark. You know, everybody calls him Mark, but his Chinese name is Ma Ke. He's played by Lei Jiayin, and Lei Jiayin was in The Wandering Earth, that big blockbuster sci-fi film from a few months back. I thought it was a piece of garbage, but you had 1.4 billion mainland Chinese who absolutely thought it was the best film ever made. He is a mid-level executive with an Australian energy company, GPEC. I don't think there's a real company called GPEC. And GPEC is about to sign a big deal with a Chinese coal mining company that's located in the smog-filled, gritty, fictional city of Luhan. And, you know, it's very interesting. The Chinese subtitles spell Luhan Lvhan. Now, I understood why it was Lvhan, but my colleague did not, because she doesn't speak Chinese and she doesn't know Pinyin. In Chinese, just, you know, very, very quickly, there's the U sound and the U sound. And they separate. The U is designated as a U and the U is designated as a V. So this is Lu, which is the V. So they, you know, they spelled it Lvhan, which is the Pinyin way of spelling it. But you know what? For audiences who don't know Pinyin, they're going to wonder, why is there this typo? They should have spelled it Luhan. Anyhow, okay. So they're going to do a big deal with this coal mining company in Luhan. Now, at a colorful event hosted by Mark's boss, Harrison, played by Australian actor John Batchelor. Australians probably know him. I certainly didn't. At a swanky resort at Australia's 12 Apostles, Mark runs into his old flame, Zhou Ziliang, played by Tang Wei, who was in Finding Mr. Right. She was in Less Caution. This is the third time that the director has worked with Tang Wei. So that's why she's in this film, because they like to work together. Now, Ziliang informs Mark that she's the wife of the chairman of this coal mining company, but it doesn't really matter to either of them that night as they get their groove on. Now, their reunion is and the whole event is marred when Mark's colleague and one-time rival Peter shows up unexpectedly from Malawi, where he's overseeing the company's relief efforts after a major earthquake there devastated the area, and that's the area where GPEC is operating. So Peter's clearly agitated about something, but Harrison quickly sends him off to his room to get some sleep. Now, the next day, though, when Mark returns home to Melbourne, to his wife and son in Melbourne, he learns that Peter apparently killed himself by overdose on insulin, and Ziliang, who was supposedly on her way back to Sydney on an airplane that morning, she died when the plane crashed in high winds. But her body's never been hadn't been found. It's not found. So a few days later, Mark gets a surprise phone call from Ziliang, who tells him that she's been in hiding ever since she missed the flight. Turns out she missed the flight, and she's been in hiding ever since. And it seems she's been trying to get out of her unhappy marriage, and this was the perfect opportunity to do it. But freedom doesn't last long for her, as people know that she's alive, and they're trying to kill her. So Mark decides to help her escape. He jeopardizes his career, his marriage, his family, his own life, and tries to help her. And along the way, he discovers that his company may have been responsible for that earthquake in Malawi, and they may be setting up Siliang's husband's company for disaster as well. So that's what the story is about. So the story sort of wavers between why are people out to kill Siliang, and there seems to be a some hanky-panky that went on in Malawi that somehow is affecting the company that Mark works for and will be affecting the company that Siliang's husband is the chairman of. Now, where to begin on this? Now, I'll start with the positive. It's shot well. Okay, there are some cheesy special effects, CGI special effects. But I think generally it has very good production values. And there's some, the performances are fairly good all around. And I want to give a big shout out to the actor. I don't know who he is. I looked him up. I couldn't find his name. The actor who plays Harrison's boss, he's an Australian guy. His Chinese was excellent. I speak Chinese, so I can tell. His Chinese was excellent. And it would put former Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd's Chinese ability to shame. I was watching this fellow act, and I thought his Chinese is so good. He's clearly, his pronunciation is so good. Like, I don't think that it was just a matter of he had a vocal coach, and he learned his lines and that was it. He clearly understood his Chinese because his pronunciation, his tones were excellent. So I want to give a big shout out to him. I don't know who he is, but anyhow. Other than that, that's about the best. That's about all I'm going to say good about this film. The story is completely bonkers. It has more holes in it than a golf course. Once the bullets start flying, Mark, who starts out as a completely wet noodle, somebody that you wouldn't look twice at, he suddenly transforms into a Chinese Ethan Hunt as he cantilevers between buildings. He outdrives not one, but two cars filled with gunmen who couldn't hit the side of a barn if they tried. He slides down ventilation ducts, and he does more without so much as getting a scratch on his pudgy body. Now, one expects to hear, certainly I expected to hear, Lalo Schifrin's iconic theme, dot, 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 while Mark was outwitting all the bad guys. It was clearly, it's not a ripoff of Mission Impossible, but heavily inspired, let's put it that way. Now, Siliang, meanwhile, is just as adept as Mark, it seems, even though she doesn't even know how to cook a meal in a microwave. But the problem is she's still relegated by the director. The director's name is Xue Xiaolu, woman also, by the way. She's relegated by the director, the writer, the director, both the same, to scream, to whine and pout at every opportunity. She's driving a car in Malawi, trying to get away from some gunmen, and turns out she's never driven before either. But she's a fantastic driver, But the whole time she's going, isn't that one of those Star Wars characters does that? Anyhow, but just when you think the story couldn't get any more ridiculous, it completely goes off the rails when it does something that no film in 2019 should do. And I'm not even going to tell you what it is. If you see it, I'll tell you, let me just say it this way. I had to reach down to the floor in the dark to pick up my lower jaw because it went to a place that it shouldn't have gone. But Liz, who was sitting next to me, we're just like, no, don't go there, don't go there. Oh God, you went there, and we were like, oh my God, you actually went there. Oh my God, terrible, shame on you, Xue Xiaolu, for going there. As messed up as this story is, though, it's not horrible. It's not a horrible film. I've seen far worse this year. So there you go. It's hard to imagine, though, that after watching this film, Chinese people are going to want to become whistleblowers, but you never know. So, you know what? It's not a horrible film. It's not a great film. It's very mediocre. It is what it is. Welcome to China. Welcome to Australia. Welcome to Malawi. So that's called The Whistleblower. What else is opening today? That's it. I think there's a couple other films opening today, but I haven't even seen them, so I'm not even going to mention them. But last but not least, I'll just talk very briefly again about the International Film Festival and Awards in Macau. That's what the A stood for. Couldn't remember last week. International Film Festival and Awards, Macau, IFFAM, IFAM. So I was there this past week. I think I saw 16 films in 5 days. I am exhausted. I mean, I'm still exhausted. You know, people think, oh, going to film festivals is fun. You sip champagne with Brad Pitt. No, you don't. You know, unless you're an A-lister, no, you don't. You go people like me who go there to work. It is difficult to see 4 or 5 films a day. It is hard work, and you just live off of coffee. I I mean, it's not a good situation. But anyhow, but I did see some good films. I mentioned last week I saw the opening night film was Jojo Rabbit. Loved it, loved it, loved it. It's coming here on January the 30th. So I will review it then. The other film that, well, I saw quite a few. Look, I didn't see anything that I didn't hate. They were really good films and they were pretty good films. There was nothing that I hated. So, you know what? Congratulations to the programmers there. The other films that I really, really liked are The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. Apparently, Willem Dafoe did not get, not apparently, it's true, he did not get nominated for a Golden Globe for that award. That is a crime. This, to me, was his best performance ever, ever. He is fabulous in this film. If you see this film, I would just say, read up, before you go, read up on your Greek mythology, specifically on Prometheus and Proteus. I didn't. I don't know my Greek mythology. And at the end of the film, I went, what? Like, what did I just see? And then I went online and I wrote, I Googled the Lighthouse movie ending explained, and then I read up about Proteus and Prometheus, and then it all made sense. It's a great, even if you don't do that, you're still going to love the movie, but the ending is weird. But when you read up about Proteus and Prometheus, or if you know about it, then it makes complete sense. So it's a great, great film, The Lighthouse. The other film I saw was Terrence Malick's latest film called A Hidden Life, about a real life person, Franz Jägerstätter, and who was a conscientious objector back in 1943 against Hitler. It's 3 hours and 6 minutes, but surprisingly, it doesn't drag. This is Terrence Malick. He does these long sweeping shots, lots of nature. You get to see the sky, lots of farming. Voiceovers. Nobody really talks to each other. It's all voiceovers. But it's good. It makes sense. His last few films I did not like at all. One of my favorite films of all time is his film from, 1978, I think it is, Days of Heaven, starring Richard Gere. This one's a good film. I enjoyed it. So it's A Hidden Life. It's 3 hours and 6 minutes, though, so don't drink a Coke before you go in. And what else did I see that I really liked? Oh, the film that won the big award there is called Give Me Liberty, which I also liked. I'm surprised it won. I didn't think it merited winning, but it was a good film. It's about a young Russian guy who's a rehab bus driver in Milwaukee, and it's the dead of winter, and it's sort of 24 hours in his life, and all the craziness that ensues thanks to people around him, not because of anything he does, but for the people around him. And so it was a very enjoyable film. It's manic. I would be curious to know how much was scripted and how much was improv, because it looked like the whole thing was improv, but I can't imagine that it was. I think a lot of it was scripted. I think some of maybe the outline was scripted and everything else in the middle was improv. It's really a unique film, and that's called Give Me Liberty. So that was the film that won. I'm so far behind because I watching films this past week that I need to sit down over the next week and start writing reviews for all these films. So over the next week, most of these, I'm going to write up reviews for all these films, put them on my website, howard4film.com, howardforfilm.com. Some of them are already there because I've done a few, but I need to do all of them. So check that out. That's it for this week. Next week is Star Wars, the new Star Wars film. I don't think there's anything else opening in Hong Kong next week. Certainly nothing else that I'm going to be talking about. So I'm seeing that one on Wednesday, so I will be able to talk intelligently about it on Friday. So have a good weekend. Have a good week. See ya.